with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do?
We're going to create a playground that speaks of our specific story of Timaru. I'm not sure how many Timaruvians know this story. It's quite a story.
Shave his face with a rusty razor, shave his face with a rusty razor.
Before Europeans came, this whole area had been formed by the most recent volcanic activity in the South Island. And this natural basin, I guess, provided some shelter for ships. So they could come here and they could import and export.
We were laying in the Surrey dock.
I think over about 16 years we saw 28 shipwrecks here. The harbour master at the time was Captain Mills, and he was the harbour master for 16 years. So he saw a majority of those shipwrecks. And he was caught in the middle of this pool of politics, saying you need to have your ships closer because that's going to be way more efficient. And he had the pull of the insurance, trying to keep these ships safe, and also of the lives that he needed to be responsible for. He was responsible for the rocket brigade, and he was also responsible for the lifeboat crew.
This part of the museum is about the rocket brigade, which is a life-saving brigade to help sailors in trouble in Caroline Bay. They had to have some way to save the sailors because most of them couldn't swim, which was a superstition that sailors had in those days. The signal gun was set off and you'd hear it all over town. Everyone would come running and they would send a rocket out holding a rope over the ship so that the seamen on the ship could grab the rope, and they would read the instructions which would tell them to tie it off to the mast, and then they would send out a pair of shorts attached to a buoy, and the seamen would hop inside the shorts and then be pulled back across the waves, sometimes getting hit by waves until they made it to the shore. They're canvas shorts.
They wanted to have a far more efficient and far safer way of bringing their ships in and out, and so we needed to build this breakwater.
Whiskey, Johnny, oh, I'll get whiskey where I can. Whiskey for my Johnny.
So John Blackett came down to Timaru, he wrote this report, and he said, this port is a terrible idea. It's going to change the way that the sediment flows up the coast. You're going to get erosion. Reading that report for locals must have been pretty frustrating because they were pretty keen on the port, and it was evident by the hundreds who turned up to parade and protest down the main street. They hissed and carried this effigy of Blackett down to the breakwater, filled them up with fireworks, and then blew them up. So they didn't listen to Blackett, they built the breakwater anyway, and about 2 years after they finished, there was this massive disaster that reinforced to the town why this port was so important. The town had assembled, they were all on the cliffs watching as the Bienvenue comes in and it smashes. Crew manages to escape to the safety of the ship, the City of Perth, but that too loses its anchor and it starts to drift along this bay straight into the wreck of the Bienvenue. And all of a sudden we've got 40 men in the boiling sea, all of the ships that could help her in trouble, and there's one boat left that could come to the rescue. That's the Alexandra. The lifeboat ends up making 3 trips and it saves 43 men, including Captain Mills. But when Captain Mills is pulled ashore, he's cold, he's wet, and sadly he dies of exposure. This is the Bienvenue Memorial, and this is to acknowledge and commemorate the heroes and the people who lost their lives on that day, 14th of May, 1882. It's a significant monument, and it just goes to show how the people at the time felt about this tragic event. These are who perished, saving lives, and here's Alexander Mills. After they built the breakwater, it interrupted the way that sediment moved up the coast, and so you had all this fine sand get trapped, and it built up in this area. So it was once a rocky cliff, and now it's a beautiful sandy bay. But it also starved the lagoon, we saw a huge loss at that lagoon. And actually only about 10% of that lagoon remains today. Believe it or not, this area was once known as the Riviera of the South. So back in the day, you could jump on a train from Christchurch and you could empty out here at Caroline Bay and then spend the whole day playing, checking out the parades and the carnival and the concerts. Not really the case today. It's a wet day, the ground's sodden, and we can see that this is really past its use-by date. It's ready for an update. The playground's going to feature these epic 5 and 7 metre slides, and we've got this amazing lighthouse that's been inspired by the Blackett Lighthouse. And below that lighthouse is a ship that's buried deep beneath the sand, the Bienvenue. We're going to see a flying fox that's been themed to the Rocket Brigade. These are all inspired by the Mahikakai food gathering. And so in about 6-8 months' time, you're going to see a really incredible playground here.